I'm very much encouraged this morning, looking at the crowd, taking into account the usual traffic draw in Kuala Lumpur. I hope to see that we're going to have, or rather we'll meet our early registration number of about 700 attendance. And I think this is very important because in a discussion with the speakers just now, I think one of the things that come out is there is a need for a national narrative on technology development. And for the national narrative on technology development to be highlighted, to be always in the system, we need to have people to talk about it. And to have people to talk about it, they must, well, I'm not, puji Disney, but they must attend events like this where we look at what are the challenges and what are the possibilities and what are the opportunities for us to develop technology in our country. So I think this is a very important event, and we have designed it as such, unlike a lot of I 4.0 events, which features a lot of foreign speakers. We have tried to be balanced in this event. While we focus about engineering and a national I 4.0 ecosystem, we have also contribution sharings from experienced foreign speakers. But a lot of our discussion will be on what we can do as entrepreneurs, as technology entrepreneurs. Yeah? Because at the end of the day, speaking as a technology development professional, nobody in this world, no organization, no country can develop everything on its own, not even the US. The US have been importing technologies by importing expertise, human resource, by giving them green cards, by giving them work opportunities. They don't actually innovate everything that they need in the US by the US citizens. And we also don't want to be in a situation where in technology development parlance they say, not invented here. I'm not trying to say that everything about I 4.0 must be developed locally. It has always been a wise decision to adopt this motto of buying some and make some. We buy what we need, but we should also try our very hardest to develop also what we need. Because at the end of the day, each ecosystem is different. Germany is not Malaysia. I spoke to Zaki just now, and he was telling me, Germany has a head start, but it took them several years before the SMEs are comfortable with the idea of I4.0. So if you're going to go and cut and paste the German model into Malaysia, I think it is not going to work. Or if it works, it's probably take a long time. What we need to do is look at our own ecosystem, develop our own entrepreneurs, both entrepreneurs who will be using our technology products and entrepreneurs who will be producing those products and services. And we have, I'm lucky, we are lucky today, we have a lot of local entrepreneurs who are in this space. And when we talk about technology transfer, the first thing about technology transfer is when you want to design something, what is the pain in the market? We must identify the pain. What is the pain in the market that all of you here, the entrepreneurs, are trying to solve? This is very important. It cannot be only technology driven. It has to be related to what we are trying to solve in the market. And we need to be clear what is the pain in the market. Right? And I think since last year, a lot of us have talked about I4.0. We have a lot of events where people talk about I4.0. But maybe the progress is not as what we have anticipated. The pace may be slightly off the pace. So why is that? Yeah? And I think part of this is, I refer back to what I said earlier on, there should be a national narrative where everybody talks about it. If you look at the Wawasan Gokul, one of the challenges, one of the 9 challenges is about creating a scientific, a technology-based society, but it has never become a national narrative where everybody talks about it. It is on paper, but nobody talks about it. Now, if you look at post-war Japan, post-World War Japan, World War II, the narrative is about bringing Japan up to be on par with the European powers. And you can see the whole nation imbibe that spirit. It is shown everywhere. People started their factories, people started their entrepreneurial endeavor because of the national narrative. But when we talk about I 4.0, I think it is not there yet. When we talk about technology development, people talk about it. The Prime Minister surely talks about it, but not many people are really, bringing this, it's eat, drink and sleep with it. So there must be, I think, a work done by those who are in this room, especially the entrepreneurs, to be more visible and to talk more about this issue of how do we bring up how we do address the I 4.0 challenges for us as we move forward. Yeah. So in technology development, actually, one of the other things that we must, when we talk about technology transfer and technology development, the first thing that we must have is the recipient must want it hard enough. That is the first rule of technology transfer. The first rule of commercialization is what is the pain in the market. The first rule of technology transfer is the recipient must want it. Are our SMEs in that position now? Do they really want I 4.0? That one we have to ask ourselves. Do they really want it? Now, if they want it, then they have to be ready to receive it. And this is where the human resource comes into play. You cannot acquire technology without human resource. So do the SMEs in Malaysia want it? Do they have the human resource to receive it? Do they have the capacity to utilize it? And in the long term, the dream of anybody in this field of technology development is, will they have the capacity to innovate on it? So that we can then develop an industry which is strong, resilient, and can grow and can export and can compete in the world. So I think there's two things that we need to look at from a policy perspective, which we're going to look today this morning. And policy is one of the three items in the triple helix. There is the policy, the government and policies. There is the academia, research and universities. And of course, there is the industry. So this morning, the first thing first we're going to look at will be the policy. Because policy is important. It is not the be-all and end-all kind of thing, but policy is important. And in this case, I 4.0, industry forward is important. But is I 4.0 to be looked at isolation, independent of all the other policies? And as I said just now, when you talk about I 4.0, you cannot run away from education, training, and how these things are managed. So policy has to be seen in a more macro global outlook. Now, how do we address policies in terms of getting our SMEs excited about I 4.0? They are aware of it. They are maybe interested in it. But when we talk about automation and robotics, the idea is always that can I have more foreign labor? So while the desire is there, the desire for foreign labor is higher. And that will be something that, from the policy perspective, we need to have a look at. So I think there are a lot of policymakers in this room. I've made it a point to invite, and I'm happy that here we have many senior officers from MITI, senior officers from MED, senior officers from MEA, MESTEC, and also Mr. Bayan, the Ministry of Education. This is very important because at the end of the day, when we talk about industry forward, we're not talking about that particular segment of society. Because when we talk about industry development, we're talking about the whole range of activities contributing to the development of the industry and society as well. And the other component in triple helix is the academia. Because at the end of the day, I 4.0, while there is the human resource component, there is also the technology component. And the technology component here will probably will entail two things. One is actually the real technology, in terms of generating technology. The other thing is about training the technologists. And these are the roles of academia and other training institutes. And we have to look at it. Because at the end of when you buy robots, they don't operate on their own. People have to be trained. So how do we come up with a policy that will in generate interests and commitment in our SMEs, and understanding the issue of being competitive in a small world. How do we generate that interest, from a policy perspective, and how do we make it easy for them and smoother so that they can actually take this journey of moving up the technology value chain towards the I 4.0 status as SMEs. And of course, the third one is industry. This conference focuses on the capability and the potential of local industry coming up with local solutions to address first Malaysian needs, but with an eye towards at least the ASEAN needs. Because if we are able to develop products and services for our local companies is the microcosmos of the other local companies in ASEAN. What we face in Malaysia is what is faced in Indonesia, what is faced in Vietnam. We face the same problems. If our local companies can come up with products and solutions to assist our local companies, there is always the ASEAN market. And we all know, I kept saying this, that by 2030 we're going to have $5 trillion economies in ASEAN. We don't need to fly far away. 2-3 hours flight, we are already within the $5 trillion market in the ASEAN community. So there is a very important role for us, all of you, MTDC companies here, to play. One is because we need to develop some solutions for our own industries. It would not be economical to buy them from Siemens. It's too far away and might not be of the technology level that we need. We need to look at the challenges, I said the pain in the market. What are the pains in the market? We must develop the products and services to address that pain, to address that pain at a level that is acceptable to them. You must remember that technology, the best technology is not the most cutting edge. Like what they used to be, you throw the iPads to some students, some African students. That is not the way to introduce technology. The most optimum technology utilization of the best technology is what works for you at the price that you can afford, meeting the target that you want to meet. It doesn't have to be the most cutting edge. And this is something that we as local entrepreneurs can develop. If we can develop products that meet the needs of our own constituents, our SMEs, at the cost that they can afford, at the productivity that they want to achieve, at the efficiency that they want to reach, then we are already solving the pains of the market. And this is what we were trying to address by one of the panel where we talked about how do we bring up our local solutions so that they can play this game. How do we bridge that glass ceiling where it is, competing with the multinational of this world. So we need to carve out the niche, our own niche, where do we play and what game are we playing. So I think these are generally the theme of this conference. And again, I would like to thank all of you for being here. The entrepreneurs, the policymakers, there are some students too that we have specifically invited, because we would like all of us to start talking animatedly, excitedly, about Industry 4.0, how we can grow our industry in this country and how we can actually bring our technologies to compete in this future. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dato.